You're listening to Release Your Resistance with Bex Beltran, episode 78. Welcome to Release Your Resistance. This is Bex. The only reason why any of us don't have what we want in life is because of our own resistance. Right now, I'm learning how to recognize and release my resistance, and this podcast tells you how you can release your resistance so that you can live the exact life that you want. Let's get started. Happy half year! Isn't it crazy to think that this year is already half over? I want to use this as a time for reflection for what has happened in the past 6 months, and maybe this is a good time to set an intention for what could or what will happen in the next 6 months. Compared to 2020, this year just seems like it is rushing by, probably for obvious reasons. For me, at least, where I am, we're not being encouraged to stay home. Now I have a lot more places to go and people to see, so that's probably increasing the pace of how time is flying this year. And since we are at the halfway point, I thought it would be interesting to compare this happy half year to a more traditional New Year's celebration. When we do a New Year celebration, usually people talk about resolutions that they want for the coming year, and usually people do reflections. That's when we see the best of lists coming out from whatever happened in the previous 12 months. And a lot of times in the new year, people decide on a word for the coming year. So I thought this would be a fun time to do all of those things, all those kinds of activities on this episode at the year's halfway mark. A lot of times people come up with a word of the year. I have done this in the past few years too, but I usually don't come up with a word of the year specifically around December 31st or in the weeks leading up to it. I wait and see what word shows itself to me in the early months of the new year. For example, last year in 2020, my word of the year was resistance. Obviously, I was getting into the topic of resistance and really learning about it and practicing recognizing resistance and trying out different ways for myself and my clients and podcast listeners to release resistance. So that was definitely my focus for 2020. And my word of the year for 2021 has emerged as surrender. I started learning about surrender in the early months of 2021, and it came exactly when I needed it, when I really needed to learn to accept and let go and not try to control. And it was such a wonderful concept for me to cling on to, basically. It has resulted in so many great things, so many, in fact, that I don't even want to get into them in this episode. I think I will talk about my lessons learned so far from surrender next week. So let me know what questions you have and what I can include in next week's episode for you. My mantra for 2021 is live your life. It's what I remind myself of when I'm getting myself caught up in, what should I do? What am I supposed to be doing? How can I feel better? What's going on with me right now? And all these questions. The answer, live your life, has been the perfect thing that I needed to tell myself and hear from myself. It helps me drop any thoughts of should or have to or obligation, and it reminds me to just be present, enjoying and appreciating my life as it is right now. A leftover practice that I got from my old corporate days was to make a stop, start, continue list. Have you heard of this? It's where you list out what you will stop doing, what you will start doing, and what you will continue to do. And it's an interesting way to look at 2021 so far and to look forward to the rest of 2021 that is still ahead of us. So start. What have I started doing in 2021? I do have a lot of new interests and new favorite things this year that I wouldn't have known about or considered in 2020 or before. Right now, I am teaching a surrender course that is going great. I'm really enjoying it. I'm continuing to learn a lot. We meet weekly. We're halfway through our 8-week session right now, and it's been a great opportunity for me to think more deeply about and incorporate and explain these concepts that I have been learning about and practicing in 2021. Another thing that I started in 2021 is my journal and notebook shop. This has just been the biggest surprise and learning experience and creativity outlet, and I just cannot say enough wonderful things about this gift. Finding the ability and the process of creating journals and notebooks. And even if I just created them for myself and they never made it into a tangible reality, that would have been an amazing gift. I am just having so much fun combining the two sides of art and science. I'm combining the artistry of designing the covers and choosing color combinations and looking at font choices. And I'm using my creativity for that part. And then I'm also employing the science or the logical or rational side of myself that likes to think about organization and what should be included and how much space to allow and how many pages and what should the setup look like and how would someone use this. That has all been so educational and interesting and already 100% worth it, even if this was just a personal hobby, which I just did by myself in my own house and just looked at on my screen and never even had a physical copy. But it gets better. I do have physical copies. I do get to hold them and look at them and flip through them and touch them and write in them and stack them up and put them in a row and organize them by color or theme or purpose. It is so fun to actually have the physical, tangible creation of what I was first creating in my mind and then creating digitally on a screen, and now I get to hold it in my hands. And then it gets even better. I get to share these creations with other people. I get to see people's reactions to the cover designs and the purposes for the journals and notebooks. I get to hear them say they love the idea of a prompted journal or a coloring book for anxiety or stress or a wine tasting notebook. And another new thing for me in 2021, at the end of June, a friend of mine graciously hosted a journal party for me in her home. We had a bunch of fun friends come over. We played some games. We had some snacks. We had some cocktails from a cocktail Keurig machine. That was also a new thing for me. It's like a Keurig coffee maker where you put in the little pod and it makes your cocktail for you. So anyhow, the journal party was so interesting and fun, and it has been so great to see people enjoy the notebooks and journals as much as I do and get as excited as I am about them and love them and want to write in them and want more of them and have so many ideas for them. So the journals and notebooks have definitely been the 2021 gift that just keeps on giving and keeps on getting better. And I am so excited to see where it will take me in the future. And if it takes me nowhere, if it all ended tomorrow for some crazy reason, I'm already 100% satisfied. I'm already 100% delighted by this whole experience over the past few months. So what have I stopped in 2021? I have noticed a pause or a slowdown in some of my relationships. I think this is just the natural evolution of how people change, how circumstances change, how interests change. 2020 probably did that for a lot of us when we didn't or we weren't in direct contact with people that we used to be around all the time. And then 2020 caused people to move or change jobs or just change their lifestyles. So I have kind of noticed a pause in my desire to spend time with some people or also the accessibility to some people. It's just been an interesting thing to note, and I'm kind of keeping an eye on it just to see where this takes me. Another relationship that has definitely changed for me in 2021, it's not with a person, but with a place or places. You know that I love Zumba. I love going to the gym for my Zumba classes, but now I might add a D to that love and say past tense, loved. Ooh, I was really concerned in 2020 when, rightfully so, the gyms closed their doors. And at that time, I was really fearful about how I wouldn't be able to continue my Zumba habit and what might take its place and how quickly I would be able to get back to it, because I was 100% into Zumba at the gym. I had multiple gym memberships because I wanted to be able to go to certain classes at certain times that met my schedule. That was all part of the life I had designed for myself and was living in the way that I wanted to. And then, surprise! As things happen, I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. So now that gyms have opened up again and people are exercising in group settings together, I haven't joined in yet, and I might not at all, and I feel okay about that. I was someone who thought I would never want to rely on an in-home workout for myself. I thought that I really wanted the scheduled events. I liked that I never wanted to be late, and that I liked the accountability of seeing other people. And now those factors are not as important to me anymore, and I have found a substitute that I can do at home. So this change in my behavior that started out of necessity in 2020 has maybe morphed into a change in attitude in 2021. And I might have stopped my gym relationship for now, or maybe even for a while or forever. Having been wrong about my confident belief that I would always want to do Zumba at a gym, if given the choice, makes me think, what else am I mistaken about? What other things do I assume about myself that are not even true? This has been another new 2021 theme for me, noticing when I've been mistaken or wrong about myself and accepting my mistake rather than trying to let my ego force me to be right all the time. So I guess my stop here is stop thinking I'm always right about myself and other things. And this might be a good question for you. If there are certain things, habits, priorities, or preferences in your life that you think you would never stop, you might tell yourself, I would never give this up. I would never do without that. Would you, though? Could you? I thought to myself, I would never want to have my daily workout be an at-home, self-directed workout. Well, here it is, and I'm enjoying it, and it's working for me. So maybe there are other areas like that too, and maybe you have some areas like that. Let's move on to what has continued and what I think will continue in 2021. But before we do, I have one that I am not sure about. Zoom meetings. Zoom has just been such a great way for me to connect with people through 2020. And now, even in the beginning of 2021, for the first 6 months, I've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings. I've met a lot of great people this way. I have furthered connections with people on Zoom. And using Zoom has given me access to teach people who I wouldn't have otherwise met or been able to correspond with. So do I think that Zoom meetings are going to stop for me now that everything's opening up again where I am? Or will they continue? I do think I will continue because now I have relationships with people in groups in other parts of the country and the world. So of course I don't want to close the door on those opportunities and those relationships, but I do wonder if just naturally, me, and the rest of us too, we'll start to shy away from doing things online because maybe we're a little zoomed out or because we just really want to take advantage of our ability to meet people in person. So this will be interesting to watch if this is a continue or a stop. And let's not forget, I and many other people did use Zoom prior to 2020, just not for quite as many things, and not everyone knew about Zoom prior to 2020. So now a lot more people are comfortable with it and might be happy to meet in this format. So, yes, let's talk about what will I continue to do for the rest of 2021? What are my plans? I will definitely be continuing this podcast, so you will continue to get to hear me every Friday. I definitely will continue creating notebooks and journals. My goal is to have 200 designs created, and I am about a third of the way there right now. I just have lists upon lists of more ideas and concepts and various creations in the process of being created. And I will definitely continue coaching with my coaching clients. I love hearing their progress and seeing their transformations right before my eyes. And I love showing them their transformation that they sometimes are not even aware of because they just feel like they've been continuing on with their lives. And then when I hold up their before and after to them in a descriptive way, I describe to them their mindset transformation. It's so exciting and confirming that coaching and mind management works. And the main thing that I will continue to do through the rest of 2021 is just to live my life. That is the daily practice and intention I am most interested in and excited and curious about. 2021 has already given me so much and been so full of so many wonderful things. I cannot wait to see what else comes. So now that you've heard what I started, and continued to do in 2021, what about you? Can you identify anything that you have started this year or something that you have intentionally stopped doing in 2021? Have you identified what you will for sure continue doing for the next 6 months or maybe beyond? What about goals? New Year's Eve is also a time that people usually make resolutions or maybe they make a goal for themselves for the new year. And in general, I'm not making any goals. I do have the specific goal that I mentioned already for my notebooks. So I do have some very short-term goals as far as my to-dos for this week or things that I want to do this month. But now I am more interested in intention, setting an intention for myself about how I want to feel or how I want to show up, how I want to be, how I want to live my life. Unlike the past version of me, pretty much anymore, I am really not interested in setting a focused, specific, especially not a SMART goal for the future, for the 6 months out or a year out or five years out. If anyone asks me about my 5-year plan right now, the answer is just, I'm living my life. I do not have a specific number or measurement or anything to put on what is going to happen. And I wonder if this relaxation of measurement has happened with anyone else after we all got the big surprise, which we should have known in the first place that we don't control anything. Even though I have been a person in the past who has been very, very driven by goals, maybe my incorporation of surrender into my life has changed that about me. I am not interested in setting goals any longer than maybe 2 to 4 months out. I'm open to whatever is coming. And I do have a new topic that I am curious about and interested in, and I'm excited to learn more and research about. And maybe you can help me with this because maybe you know what it's called. I don't even know what this is called or how to describe it, really. I noticed one morning when I was writing and kind of reflecting on how I learn and what I am interested in and how I do things, I realized that there might be phases. And this made me think of the product life cycle or the Kubler-Ross change curve, which you might have heard of as the stages of grief. And I'm wondering if there is a model or a curve that has been documented and replicated that shows our interest in things goes through phases that you could map and match people or events to whatever phase they're in. So like a product life cycle from conception or inception to all the way through when it's no longer a viable product. Do we go through a development life cycle as an adult as far as our interests and what motivates us? Like maybe it has something to do with the conception of an idea or interest, and then excitement, and then learning and feeling determined and also a little bit nervous, but then feeling pride and learning more and growth, and then confidence. And then it's possible that it wanes off or it goes into disinterest or boredom. My theory is that right now in your life, there's something that you used to be so excited about and so interested in and so motivated to learn and explore, but now you're not as interested. Maybe you're a little bit bored by it because something else has taken its place, or perhaps you're just not interested in that topic anymore. And thinking about this made me really wonder, is this a specific cycle that I could map out for different parts of my life or different things that I have been interested in, like hobbies or interests or styles? I started to research it, but one of the first things that kept popping up for me that does not describe what I'm talking about at all is if you're no longer interested in something that you used to be interested in, a lot of the articles that I was finding were calling this or describing this as possible depression. I do agree if someone used to be interested in something that they're no longer interested in, that might be a symptom of depression. But this is not what I am talking about with this theory that I want to research. I think that in the normal human developmental evolution of things, it is probable that we used to be interested in things that now we are no longer interested in. And instead, we're interested in something new, and we're not depressed. Our interests have just changed. I'm just really curious about how this model or curve might look. Is this just my own personal cycle? Is this just me? Or do humans tend to go through some similar stages of excitement, motivation, development, disinterest, disillusionment maybe, and then renewal again because now we're excited about something new? So if you know what this cycle is called, or if you know of any work that's been done on this topic, please share it with me. If you have your own theories that you want to talk about with me, I would love to discuss it and dive into this with you. So exploration of this topic might be something that I want to spend more time on as 2021 progresses. Wow, we have really gone through a lot of topics in this episode. So if you are still with me, thank you for listening to all of the various things. That's a lot for just 6 months, and I am excited for what is coming in the next 6 months. And I'm also open and curious, and I'm letting whatever comes come. I am not trying to dictate. I am not trying to control. I'm very open, and I'm looking forward to continuing to live my life for the rest of 2021 and beyond. What about you? Send me an email at hi@bexby.org or leave me a comment in the show notes at bexby.org/half, HALF, because it's Happy Half Year. Thank you for listening today. If you happen to be listening to this at another time of the year and you're not currently celebrating Happy Half Year, you can still do this reflection process. In fact, why don't you start it now in preparation for your next birthday and use the birthday list method that I shared last year? I'll link it in the show notes. And you could look at the notebook that I created about birthday lists too. Whenever you do this reflection and intention setting work, I hope you have an amazing experience. Thank you again for listening. I will talk with you next week. This has been Release Your Resistance. Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, think about someone who you know who would love this episode and share it with them. There should be a share button on your app if you're listening to this on your phone. If you'd like to continue this conversation one-on-one or in real time, come visit me on my site at bexby.org to see how we can work together.